done a lot of the men's jobs at home in the war.
Mm.
You had to be over 30 and own property, though. And it was 10 years later in 1928 that they finally got the vote over 21, as it was at the time, the same as men. But I
Mm.
was very interested last week because I had lunch in a pub in Tunbridge Wells. I don't know whether you know Tunbridge Wells in Kent, very
Yeah.
nice town. And
Yeah.
I had in this pub, I've been there once before a few years ago, but it's called the Opera House, and it looks like an opera house outside a theatre. So we went in, and it's quite incredible because there's two balconies of seats. There's sort of a royal box and other boxes on the sides. It's effectively the opera house, the theatre, except on the floor where the stalls would be, there were tables. You could then go up on the stage, and there's tables there, and it's a real experience to go and have lunch there. You know, we took photographs and so on. But I actually saw something, a little plaque on the wall, which really brought to life the suffragettes thing, because we can sit here and say, oh yeah, and the suffragettes, they burnt down buildings. And as I said, we weren't there. We don't even understand the mindset of the people. We try and look at it and have some empathy. We know they had a good cause, but to actually do it. But anyway, this plaque on the wall said in 1913, just before the First World War,
Yeah.
this pub was largely burned down by the suffragettes. And it
Whoa.
really brought home what I was saying, what we were talking about a week or two before, that this beautiful, and it's obviously restored, beautiful theatre was burnt down. And you can see their mindset was so strong to make their point. They had to have the vote, as they should have done long before, I'm sure. But to actually see that that's what they did to that beautiful pub.
Yeah.
But it was rebuilt, and just out of interest, once a year they sell all the seats, the balconies, the boxes, and the stalls they put in for a night of opera, which sounds quite an interesting thing. But yeah, so that's just an example, I think, of when women um, need to break down the traces. They've got to fight for what their rights are.
Yeah.
You know, we are in days of gender changes, you know, different ways of looking at it. I mean, do you know, just a question you probably don't know, but
Yeah.
again, censuses, statistics are gathered to find out, for example, how many of the world, probably the Western nations, have women leaders. What percentage of females are in leadership roles, i.e. prime minister, president, or even you could actually add to that CEOs and things like that, but mainly world leaders. What would you say? And the last one was done, I think, about 5 years ago, where they assessed this.
Right. 5 years ago. Okay. So that would be less than 10%. So about 7, 8%.
Well, no, it actually was 30%.
Wow.
Which again, this was done across 74 countries, which they took to be a statistical sample.
Yeah.
But 30% across all roles in those societies, it's about 43% that women have key roles in those societies. So you could say things are improving, but of course, women have to face the intricacies of juggling family responsibilities, you know, with wishes for a career and stuff like that. And that sort of brings in what are the imperatives of being a woman in terms of what she wants in her life. And again, different writers say different things, although they tend to be similar ultimately. But what would you say are the seven, if you like, the seven goddesses? Because we think of women as goddesses. We do. I do. And we do. I do, and I always have. But
Yeah.
what do you think the seven types of personality, if you like, are kind of very relevant to this conversation? Well, the
Um.
first one would be, let me say to you first, the mother. The mother is the first one, which we might
Right.
say is the first personality
Yeah.
goddess, if you like.
Yeah. Well, I'd say a homemaker. Would that
Yeah.
count as a personality? Yeah, a homemaker.
That may
Um.
sort of link to the mother, but yeah, yeah,
Oh, all right.
okay, the
Yeah. Yeah.
homemaker.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Maternity. So sort of like a maternal figure.
yeah,
Um.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's mother, in it. Yeah. Um. I've run out of ideas actually.
I mean, I don't mean to put you on the spot, Cuz, I really
Yeah.
don't. I
Yeah.
just want
No.
to sort of bring you into it. But yeah,
Right.
well, the next one would be a maiden. We know a damsel in distress, a maiden, not in distress necessarily, but perhaps a young woman.
Yeah.
Um, then we have the queen
Right.
bee, for example. You might get a matriarch of a family very often. The woman is the kind of the head of the family,
Yeah.
and that would be the queen. There's the mystic, and that I think covers perhaps the more spiritual side of a woman, which we'll look at in
Right.
a minute.
Right.
The sage, the wise woman,
Right.
the girly girl. That's something that a lot of women and girls they do. Not all want to
Yeah.
be girly girls, but we know what they mean. It's sort of hyper femininity. They love. You hear some women say, or you read something. I love being a woman. I'm so glad I was born a woman. And I think that's a much more prevalent feeling in more women than it ever is in men about being a man. I'm not saying we don't want to be a man. We do. I do. But
Yeah.
I don't think there's that sense of being so comfortable in your skin as women like that are. So girly girls. And then I think that pretty much the last one is the lover. So all those things are personality traits of a woman. And from the lover comes yet more sort of traits and along the lines of the seductress. Because
All right.
obviously we go back to early humans, males were the hunter, females were the hunted,
Yeah.
and so there's always been that seductress element. So can you think of some definitions, some elements of being the goddess being a seductress? What might she display?
Well, there's a biblical story of Samson and Delilah. I don't know if you're conversant with that. Yeah. So she sort of seduced him to find out the source of his power, and then she did.